Dear beautiful and radiant viewers, welcome to the 27th episode of Art and Dharma, where we will talk about the connections or interplay between art and Dharma. My name is Victor Gabriel and I am a lecturer at Sakya Buddha University in Santa Ana, California. You can reach me through my email awake.star.sky@gmail.com. In episode 27, I would like to discuss Manjushri in Chinese style, their iconography, their role in Buddhist cosmology, their devotional practices and significance. This episode is a continuation of episode 9, where we talked about the names of Manjushri, their mantra, their sacred mountain in China. Please revisit episode 9 if you are interested in these areas. In Chinese Buddhism, Manjushri is one of the 4 great Bodhisattvas, the others being Kitisgarbha, Avalokiteshvara, and Samantabhadra. Manjushri is often paired with Samantabhadra in Chinese Buddhist altars. This episode is paired with episode 28 on Samantabhadra. In Chinese Buddhism, Manjushri is shown riding or seated on a blue lion or sitting on the skin of a lion. This represents the use of wisdom to tame the mind, which is compared to riding or subduing a ferocious lion. In East Asian Buddhist art, Manjushri's sword is sometimes replaced with a rui scepter. The rui, often translated as you wish or may your wishes come true, holds a deep symbolic significance in East Asian art and culture. This traditional Chinese scepter typically is characterized by its curved cloud-like shape. It's associated with power, good fortune, and auspiciousness. In Buddhism, the rui, when held by Manjushri, symbolizes that with the attainment of emptiness, all wishes come true. Symbol of power. Historically, the rui was a ceremonial object used by emperors and high-ranking officials, symbolizing authority and governance. Good fortune. The rui is often depicted in art and decoration to convey wishes for good luck, prosperity, and happiness, making it a popular motif during celebrations, such as the Lunar New Year. Cultural iconography. In East Asian art, the rui frequently appears together with other auspicious symbols like the dragon, phoenix, lion, or enhancing the overall meaning of wealth and success. Materials and craftsmanship. The rui is often made of precious materials like jade, ivory, or gold, showcasing the artistry and craftsmanship of the material. The material choice itself can signify status and refinement. Artistic representation. The rui's unique shape has inspired various artistic expressions, from sculpture to paintings, and is often integrated into other decorative elements, enhancing its visual appeal and symbolic value. It is believed that Manjushri is the oldest and most significant Bodhisattva in Mahayana Buddhist literature. Manjushri is first referred in early Mahayana sutras such as the Prajna Paramita Sutras, and through this association came to symbolize the embodiment of prajna or transcendent wisdom. The Lotus Sutra assigns him a pure land called Vimala, which according to the Avamtasaka Sutra is in the east. His Pure Land is predicted to be one of the 2 best Pure Lands in all of existence, in the past, present, and future. When he attains Buddhahood, his name will be Universal Sight. In the Lotus Sutra, Manjushri also leads the Nagaraja's daughter to enlightenment. He figures in the Vimalakriti Sutra in a debate with Vimalakriti, where he is presented as the Bodhisattva who discusses non-duality. Manjushri can also be found in the Prajnaparamita Sutra in 700 lines. This sutra contains a dialogue between Manjushri and the Bodhisattva one Samadhi. Chinese Venerable Master Senyen makes the following commentary in these verses. Contemplate the 5 skandhas as originally empty and acquiescent, non-arising, non-perishing, equal without differentiation. Constantly thus practicing day or night, whether sitting, walking, standing, or lying down, finally one reaches the inconceivable state without any obstruction or form. This is the samadhi of one act. Manjushri is associated with the wisdom of the Prajnaparamita Sutras. The meaning of Prajnaparamita means the perfection of wisdom or the perfection of transcendental wisdom. This sutra leads to the discerning, pristine cognition in a self-reflexive, aware way of seeing the nature of reality. In the Heart Sutra, Avalokiteshvara gives Shariputra's question of how sons and daughters of noble quality should practice the Prajnaparamita. All the Buddhas of the 3 times rely on the Prajnaparamita, awakening completely to the perfect, unsurpassable enlightenment. Prajnaparamita sometimes refers to the female deity Prajnaparamita Devi, a Sambhogakaya Buddha of transcendental wisdom, also known as the Great Mother, who is widely depicted in Asian Buddhist art and which we will discuss in a later episode. The word Prajnaparamita combines the Sanskrit words prajna, wisdom or knowledge, with paramita, perfection or transcendent. Prajnaparamita is a central concept in Mahayana Buddhism. It is generally associated with the ideas of emptiness, the lack of essence, the illusory nature of things, how all phenomena are characterized by non-arising, non-abiding, and non-ceasing. And the Mahamediyaka thought of Nagarjuna. Its practice and understanding are essential elements of the Bodhisattva path. According to Edward Conze, a famous researcher on these sutras, the Prajnaparamita Sutras are a collection of 40 texts composed somewhere in the Indian subcontinent between 100 BCE and 600 CE. Some Prajnaparamita Sutras are thought to be among the earliest Mahayana Sutras. Western scholars have traditionally considered the earliest sutra in the Prajnaparamita catalog or class to be the Prajnaparamita Sutra of the 8,000 lines, which was probably put in writing in the 1st century BCE. This chronology is based on the views of Edward Conze, who largely considered the translation dates of other languages. This text also has a corresponding version in verse form. The Ratna Guna Samachaya Gata, which some scholars believe to be slightly older because it is not written in standard literary Sanskrit. However, these findings rely on late-dating Indian texts in which verses and mantras are often kept in more archaic forms. According to Edward Conze, the Prajnaparamita literature developed in 9 stages. A foundational text, the chapters 3 of 28 of the Ratnagura Samchaya, and then this base text was further expanded on with material from the Abhidharma and material from the Buddhism of faith. This process led to number 5, the further expansion into the larger Prajnaparamita Sutras, as well as the contraction into shorter sutras, for example, the Diamond Sutra and the Heart Sutra, down to the Prajnaparamita in 1 letter. This expanded corpus found the basis for the Indian Prajnaparamita commentaries, Tantric Prajnaparamita works, and the Chinese Chan texts. Another scholar, Jain Natya, defends the view that the Prajnaparamita in 8,000 words and 8,000 lines developed as various layers were added over time. However, scholar and former monastic Matthew Obstborn has recently argued that based on the structures of the text, that the entire sutra may have been composed as a single whole, with a few additions added to the core chapters. In 2012, Harry Falk and Senshi Karashima published the damaged and partial Korashti manuscripts of the Prajnaparamita in 8,000 lines. It was radiocarbodated to the 104 BCE to 46 BCE, making it one of the oldest Buddhist texts in existence. It is very similar to the Chinese translation of the 8,000 lines Prajnaparamita translated by Lokasema, whose source text was previously assumed to be in the Gandhari language. Lokasema's translation is the first extant translation of the Prajnaparamita into a non-Indic language. Comparison with standard Sanskrit shows that it was likely to be a translation from Gandhari, as it expands on many phrases and provides glosses for words that were not present in the Gandhari extant. This points to the text being composed in the Gandhari language, the language of Gandhara being now the northwest frontier of Pakistan, including Peshawar, Taxila, and the Swat Valley. In contrast to Western scholarship, Japanese scholars have traditionally considered the Diamond Sutra to be the very early date in the development of the Prajnaparamita literature. The usual reason for this relative chronology, which places the Diamond Sutra earlier, is not the date of its translation, but rather the comparison of content and themes. Some Western scholars also believe that the 8,000-line Prajnaparamita was adapted from the earlier Diamond Sutra. Examining the language and phrases used in the Prajnaparamita in 8,000 lines, and the Diamond Kata Sutra, Gregory Chopin
believes that the Diamond Cutter, the Diamond Sutra, being earlier. This view is taken in part by examining parallels between the two works. And the Prajnaparamita in 8,000 lines seems to represent a later and more developed position. These works also show a shift from the emphasis from the oral tradition, the Diamond Sutra, to the written tradition, the 8,000 lines Prajnaparamita Sutra. The Prajnaparamita Sutra in 25,000 lines is one of the largest Prajnaparamita Sutra, comprising 3 volumes in the Tibetan collection. It is also one of the most important and popular Prajnaparamita Sutras in India, seeing as how there are numerous Indian commentaries on this text. The sutra also survives in its original Sanskrit, which was found in Gilead. It also exists in 4 Chinese translations. According to Jain Natya, the Prajnaparamita in 8,000 lines was elaborated with further material, increasing the length. This process of expansion continued, culminating into the Prajnaparamita in 100,000 lines, the largest of the Prajnaparamita Sutras. Other Prajnaparamita texts were also composed, were much shorter, and had more of an independent structure from the 8,000 lines Prajnaparamita. Regarding shorter texts, Cons writes, 2 of these, the Diamond Sutra and the Heart Sutra, were a class by themselves and deservedly renowned throughout the world of East Asian Buddhism. Both have been translated into many languages and have been commented upon. During the later phase of Indian Buddhism, Tantric Prajnaparamita texts were produced from 8th century to 11th century CE. These later Tantric Prajnaparamita Sutras were generally short texts which contain mantras or dharanis and reference Tantric Buddhist ideas. They promote simple practices based on the recitation that would lead to the accumulation of merit and help one reach awakening. These Tantric Prajnaparamita texts include the Prajnaparamita in 150 lines, the Heart Sutra, the Prajnaparamita in 1 syllable, the Prajnaparamita in a few syllables, the Kausika Prajnaparamita, the Prajnaparamita in 700 lines, and the 108 names of the Prajnaparamita, the Chandagabra Prajnaparamita. Some of these sources claim that simply by reciting the dharanis found in these sutras are beneficial and advanced esoteric Buddhist practices. These scriptures may have been recited in rituals, and 2 remain in widespread use today. The Heart Sutra, commonly recited throughout Asia, and the Prajnaparamita in 150 lines, which is recited in the Shingon tradition. The Prajnaparamita and Manjushri show a close relationship. Today we have talked about Manjushri in Chinese style, their iconography, their role in Buddhist cosmology, their devotional practices and significance. If you have liked this episode, please write to me at awake.star.sky@gmail.com. Tell me what you like, what you enjoyed, and what you would like to see more of. You can also submit artwork that you want me to comment about. Thank you.